Good Tuesday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Glad you joined us. Plenty to talk about with the Browns getting ready for a Saturday afternoon game. Another Saturday afternoon game. They will host the New Orleans Saints, First Energy Stadium, Christmas Eve at 1 o'clock. Some news out of Berea. Guy's not practicing. Nick Chubb, a foot ailment. Not sure he'll be able to go. Kevin Stefanski didn't give away too much on it. He banged up the foot against the Ravens. Jadeveon Clowney still with that concussion. Myles Garrett didn't practice because of an illness. John Johnson III had that thigh injury that brought him off the field. Did not practice today as well. Some good news, though. Ethan Posick has been designated to return from the injured reserve. The Browns center who played so well, and Kevin Stefanski expects him to be available to go against the Saints on Saturday. Take a look at this, and we'll have a couple of these, but let's start with this one. 20 rushing yards less per game, one less offensive touchdown per game, and Nick Chubb's yards per carry went from 5.65 to 3.7. That's what they have averaged with the running game since Posick has left. We got one more, but let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Jeff, Ethan Posick, we kept saying he was playing well. The eye test said they missed him, and there's some stats that back him up as well.
There's no question. I think, first of all, the biggest irony of this is that we are actually here at this point of the season, and we're saying, man, this team really missed Ethan Posick. And the ironic thing also to this, though, is you look at all those numbers, you see all of that stuff. The Browns went 3-1 without Ethan Posick. He went down in the Buffalo game. The 4 games after, the Browns were 3-1. Certainly rebounded against a very difficult and tough Baltimore defense on Saturday. But when you get down and you're talking third or fourth guy at any position in the NFL, you know there's going to be issues. Teams are not that deep. It's a 53-man roster. We know the way it works. Posick, one of the most underrated, under-talked about signings of the offseason. We were all talking about, how Nick Harris had been here for 2 years and was going to be the torch being passed from J.C. Treader to him. But to his credit, Ethan Posick has been absolutely fantastic. I know a lot of folks are clamoring to make sure that they can probably find a way to keep Ethan Posick here long term. He's a guy that's definitely needed, and you probably want to get, the line situated, and you want it this for the next 3 games to see, where you are as far as, are you comfortable with all these guys, going into it maybe 2023, because the more reps Deshaun Watson can get behind an offensive line that he's going to play with in 2023, the better. And, for Ethan Posick, you want to talk about somebody who's dedicated, possibly coming back to a game is going to be played in negative 9-degree temperatures when the wind factor is factored into it. That's a tough guy right there, and getting him back will be crucial.
Yeah, without question. And again, so relative to the line play, here's the other thing that Jack Duffin tweets this out, and he's been a guest on the show, does really good stuff. Pro Football Focus, weeks 1 to 10 with Ethan Posick. The guards, the guys that play next to him, Bitonio first, so the highest rated Pro Football Focus grade. Wyatt Teller, the 4th highest Pro Football Focus grade. Without Posick, Bitonio the 10th highest, Teller the 39th. Now, it's Teller's grade. It's important to note as well. He's dealing with a calf injury, and that factors in towards the back half of that. But line play is about familiarity, and clearly Bitonio and Teller play pretty well with Ethan Posick in between them.
And it's funny because these guys have reached the levels that they're talked about, and obviously the contract extensions they both rewarded last year by having a nice long relationship with J.C. Treader. But Ethan Posick stepped in, and he was exactly what they needed, because they needed a center who could move, who could pull and get out and be a factor in the running game. Ethan Posick was excellent with that. And it's probably a little bit more difficult because, they went, from J.C. Treader to learning Nick Harris. Then it was obviously Ethan Posick. And now you're asking veterans, to basically look over, make sure the calls are right, make sure, that he's not getting manhandled. Because if you're beating the center right off the bat, another play's going to get, basically blown to bits anyway. But for Bitonio, for Teller, it should get back to the comfort level of, upper echelon play that we've become expected from those two gentlemen. So, big for them, obviously. And look, there is wear and tear in the NFL. Everybody's banged up this time of the year. Play deteriorates. We understand that. But for that unit to get back whole for these final 3 games, it'd be crucial. The Browns, regardless of whatever happens, 9-8 would be something that they would really be able to hang their hat on after this crazy year.
Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason for the first time today.
Hey, Dave Frank from Cleveland. Love the show. Browns need to move Jedrick Wills back to his natural position, right tackle, and see if they can't find a left tackle free agency or in the draft. He just ain't cutting it over there. Great show, as always, Dave. Love you, brother. Later.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jedrick Wills, the problem is finding a left tackle in free agency is going to cost you money. And there's a reason they're taken in the first round. The Browns don't have a lot of money. They don't have a first-round pick. So it's a tough spot.
Well, everybody's always enamored with what's behind door number 2. In this case, there is nothing behind door number 2. You have Jack Conklin, who spoke to the media last week and basically made his plea that he would like to remain here. You have James Hudson, who would be next in line at right tackle. So we would have a roster full of right tackles and nobody to play left. That's not an ideal situation. Jedrick Wills, it's a difficult situation. A lot of these players are given passes for a bad game, for some bad reps. Jedrick Wills, the only thing that is talked about is the bad games or the bad reps. Nobody ever talks about the positives. It's Jonah Williams. I talk about him with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a really, really good left tackle. Guess what? He faces Myles Garrett, and he's one of the worst tackles in the league. There's some matchups that are just going to be difficult. You're not going to get a Hall of Fame left tackle every time you bring a left tackle in. Kind of interesting through the barren years of the Cleveland Browns. That's maybe the one position that they feel absolutely spoiled and entitled to. Like, everybody has a Joe Thomas playing left tackle. Jedrick Wills is just fine where he's at. He is going to be the left tackle next year. And the best part is even going to be seeing all the people get so upset when his 5th-year option is picked up in the spring. So, look, Jedrick Wills isn't going anywhere. Could he be better? Yes. Could you certainly be worse at the position? 100%.
Part of Jedrick Wills' problem is he was taken with the 10th overall pick. There were 4 or 5 other options, and he has not been, one of those upper echelon of the first round kind of guys. But he has been
could have been worse. Could have been Mekhi Becton.
Yeah,
you haven't seen him in a year and a half.
Yeah, he's been an average to slightly below average left tackle, and is still young with some upside, and he was hurt most of last year. He's got to start putting it together, though, or you're starting to scratch your head a little bit, I think.
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not killing them. It's not. Look, if it was a thing where your quarterbacks were getting size, it's not 5-6 times a game. It's certainly something that would be an issue. And if we're taking anything away from the Ravens game, well, the Ravens are really good. I mean, you got 2 players on that defensive line alone, Calais Campbell and Justin Houston, who are going to go to Canton. So look, I think it's being way pushed to the negative on Jedrick Wills. Again, look, he's not going to be replacing Joe Thomas in Browns lore anytime ever. But there are bigger issues with this team. Could he play more consistent? Could he play stronger? Could his footwork at times get a little more cleaner? All absolutely true. But at the end of the day, he's a middle of the run. If he's a middle of the road left tackle, you have 2 incredible guards. You have centers playing out of his mind. Jack Conklin has always been one of the top tier right tackles in the NFL. So if Jedrick Wills is the 5th guy out of 5 on this offensive line, it is what it is. But it's not a bad thing by any means whatsoever.
Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown Browns podcast tonight. Going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll talk about some of those other bigger issues confronting the Browns. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yes, this is a fellow Cleveland Browns lover. Responding to the question I gave you guys about wide receivers, I said I wanted DK Metcalf. I wasn't saying let's go out and trade DK Metcalf. I was mainly saying, like, let's go get somebody who is actually affordable, or, like, our main goal this upcoming draft needs to be linebackers and wide receivers. Plain and simple. Linebackers and wide receivers. I want your thoughts on that. That's it. I think Deshaun Watson is going to do great. I think he's going to do great for next year. I want you guys' thoughts. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, when I look at this, I think the linebacker play would be increased significantly if they had better defensive tackle play. I think they need some guys that just eat up linemen in the defensive tackle spot, and they don't have them.
Well, without question, the number one priority is defensive tackle. If you can get some of that handled during the free agent process, my dream scenario, Deron Payne from the Washington Commanders, who the Browns rumored to have interest in at the trade deadline this year, he would be one. But yes, some space eaters, some guys who have the ability to consume and absorb blocking. There's no issues as far as that. That is definitely an idea. The linebackers, look, I mean, these guys we're playing right now actually aren't playing that bad. They're giving you everything you have, but you have to keep in mind you're already down to linebackers 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is just, insane. Nobody's, to have such a purge of injury at one position, it's crazy. The wide receiver, yeah, I mean, the problem is you're in the same spot here with a bunch of these guys. Anthony Schwartz, to this point of his career, he's an incomplete. Michael Woods, to this point of his career, incomplete. David Bell, incomplete. A name I would watch out for over the next couple of weeks, and he had 2 receptions on Saturday, is Dalen Baldwin. And reached out to some people, and what it was is when they went over the summer in August and basically shifted Deshaun to the back of the quarterback room, understanding the time he was going to miss, who did he go and work with then? He wasn't working with Amari Cooper. He wasn't working with Donovan Mitchell-Jones. He was working with the Michael Woodses. He was working with the Dalen Baldwins. Dalen Baldwin, for the little that he played on Saturday, he looked impressive. He looked good. He's not a wow athlete. He's not a wow route runner. But every time they throw him the ball, he seems to catch it. And that was the way it was in the summer. So, hey, you need guys like that too. I'm not saying you're not going to add and look to continue to add to that room. But those are not the priorities on the roster right now that this defensive tackle room is. Anthony Walker, he comes back. Well, no, I mean, that was a big guy to get back. Certainly a big guy to lose for them. I'm not sure how much his injury, can take from him as he ages in the NFL, but I'm sure that's a player who was productive and a big-time leader. That was a really, really difficult loss for them.
Now, for whatever reason, the Browns have given some draft capital to defensive tackle, but I don't know if they're looking for the wrong type, if they've missed on that position consistently.
I think the thing is they hedged their own bets a couple of times. I think they thought Jordan Elliott was going to make a huge jump year 2 and year 3. I think they thought Tommy Togiai was going to make a big jump in year 2. Both those picks really, Elliott had the blocked field goal on Saturday. Tommy Togiai is not even dressing now. You are starting to see some flashes from Perrion Winfrey. Perrion Winfrey, had a reputation of just being a guy trying to make a play. Does it work in the NFL? Whatever your assignment is, you have to do your assignment or you're leaving 10 guys out there basically hanging dry and in a bad spot. As he's playing more consistently, as he's understanding that he has to stick to the assignment he is given and the opportunities to make plays will come, that's been impressive. But I will be stunned if the top free agent priority for the Browns this year is not at the defensive tackle position. They can't wait. They can't guess. They can't hope. They need 100% proven commodity.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now they haven't had success identifying defensive tackles and developing. They've had a lot of success with cornerbacks. Whatever the formula is, don't change what you're doing when you go out and get your corners.
No question there. And you look at like the two holdovers that were here. It was Greedy Williams and it was Denzel Ward. Greedy Williams, it's just always been a tough spot. With the injury Greedy Williams has, he's going to be a guy, however long his NFL career goes on, he's going to be a guy who gets one-year contracts. Because, basically what he has is genetic. He can't stop it. He can't help it. He's going to get digged up. In the time missed, Greg Newsome flew past him on the depth chart. Martin Emerson flew past him on the depth chart. A.J. Green is past him on the depth chart. These guys are all good. They're all active. The Browns have a dream scenario, in my opinion, right now. It's a cornerback position. You have Denzel Ward. And look, there's receivers that are going to give Denzel a hard time. And whatever happened in the Bengal game, that was a travesty more on the play calling than it was anything else. Jamar Chase is one of the top wide receivers in the league. If he was the only option, then yeah, you should have thrown some help that way. But Greg Newsome, as his play in the nickel and he's getting more comfortable there, you're starting to see a player who's actually grading out even level to where he was last year on the outside. So now that he's a more confident player, he's understanding the role on the inside, you're seeing his play have an uptick. Emerson is just that bigger, leaner, longer guy, feisty, tackles a lot of PBUs. It's a great group to have, and there'll be matchups, a lot of matchups in the coming years with the Bengals, big three. We'll see if the Ravens can ever figure out their wide receiver room. And obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers have a nice group there as well. One thing, that Joe Woods, it's always funny because whenever somebody wants to criticize somebody, they'll never talk about positives. You want to talk about positives, they put together one hell of a cornerback room in a league where, everybody's throwing the ball all over the field. Like it's just, like it's 7-on-7 for God's sakes.
Yeah, and their corners are definitely elite. All right, David Njoku talked about kind of him and Deshaun Watson developing the chemistry and how good they can be as a tandem and what he's seen.
I feel like he's very versatile. He can do almost everything, if not everything. I feel like when a play is normally dead with somebody else, I feel like he has the power to keep it going and potentially make a bigger play than what we expected to happen. So very happy he's on our side.
When you watch Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all this crazy stuff that happens between those two, do you envision you and Deshaun doing?
Absolutely. First off, those two are legendary. You know what I mean? All the kudos to them, Patrick and Trav. And yeah, I feel like we can definitely do things similar to that as well. And so it's only a matter of time. So I'm very excited.
And Jeff, I know some Browns fans are kind of going, where is it? They have the skill sets to be that good at those two positions.
Yeah, I believe it. David Njoku, he's just this big, ridiculous, athletic guy. I think the first thing I noticed, and I will say this, good thing for David that he did clarify before he commented any further, because exactly how some media would have ran with it, where, David Njoku and, Deshaun Watson feel they're on the same part, But the thing you notice, and this is where it may be a little different with Jacoby and certainly a little different with Baker, is a lot of it is on the play action boots, the play action rollouts. And because Deshaun is just a faster, more athletic player, he's getting out to the edge quicker. So you're getting to the position where the defensive player's got to say, do I got to jump at the quarterback, or am I going to sit back, and cover Njoku? And, ideally, you're supposed to go out to the quarterback. Guys are supposed to be behind you. So the faster you can physically get the ball into the hands of David Njoku, the more he can physically do as a runner. And you're starting to see that now. He's turning corners. He's going over people. He's dropping shoulders into guys. David Njoku, and I don't know if his numbers will ever go to the level, of Travis Kelce. And because also, the Browns are a team that, has a strong running game and relies on the running game. And they're not going to ignore Amari Cooper. They're not going to ignore Donovan Peoples-Jones. But yes, there's going to be weeks where David Njoku is just an absolute matchup nightmare for teams. And there's going to be no question that, Coach Stefanski and Deshaun Watson are going to take advantage of it, exploit it, and have big weeks.
What have you seen? Have you seen the progression through Deshaun Watson's game that you've wanted to see? I mean, I have, but I I kind of have couched it because I've also looked at what he has done in the past, so I can kind of see it coming. Do you get that same sense?
I do, and I'm going to take 3 instances, from the game against the Ravens. The one was a play action. He basically took a tiny step or two to the right-hand side, ball, 14-yard completion to Amari Cooper over a defender into Amari on the left sideline. That's a big-time throw. That's a really, really hard throw to make, let alone making it in December with the elements. Second one was the one, I know everybody's like, why didn't he just run it? He was towards the line of scrimmage, and he was signaling for Michael Woods at the 10-yard line to start drifting upfield. Basically, it was going to be a short throw. Michael Woods would have walked in for a touchdown. That's also not necessarily – that's one of the things you're going to deal with a lack of time, and with Deshaun returning to football after so long, with people he was unfamiliar with. The third one was the long scramble. Just being able to feel and look and see how many guys are on the outside, knowing Baltimore, knowing their tendency that they are not going to back down in a big scenario from doing the thing that they do best, which is rushing the passer, and had no qualms, and instincts just hit. There was the part between the center and the gap. He took off, got all the yards he needed, was smart, slid, got the first down. Those are instances where you're starting to see that he's not thinking about playing anymore. It's just physically playing, and his body instinctually is just picking it back up and getting back into the flow. The completion percentage has gone up all 3 games. First, of course, we're going to throw Houston out the window. But that is what you're looking for. You're looking for him just to string it together and maybe be a little bit better than he was the week before. Saturday is probably going to be a step back. I'm sorry to tell you, fans, but the weather's going to be a serious issue. But you're definitely starting to see, getting close to the total package that Deshaun Watson is.
Well, one of the things that the Browns also have to figure out is the run game with Nick Chubb, running out of the shotgun. Chubb was asked about the offense with Deshaun Watson, as well as, can he get it done? Can they run out of the shotgun?
Yeah, he's special. He's a special player. I mean, he makes crazy plays, and I think it's more about us kind of getting to his level because he wants us to do certain things and that we haven't ever done. So I think he's a great player, and once we get on the same page completely, it'll be really good for us. It's not a big deal at all. I think it's just a different way of viewing things. But yeah, Deshaun, he's able to do things out the gun or in the center, so he's a great quarterback. So it doesn't really make a difference to me about how we run the ball.
Yeah, and the one thing about that, you'll see less guys in the box. So it's just an adjustment. They'll adjust a little bit the way they're doing things up front, and that run game won't miss a beat.
And that's really what this whole phase of Deshaun Watson this year in this 6-game spurt is. There's going to be things that, within Coach Stefanski's offense that he likes. There's going to be things within Deshaun Watson's game that maybe just don't suit. So you're going to have to do some tinkering here. You want to work on some of these things. And I understand seeing some of these things be unsuccessful. Well, that's good. The Browns kind of need to see that because then they have to evaluate it and say, well, do we need to do this? Are we going to continue to commit to this? Okay, maybe we'll lighten up the running game a little bit here. And we obviously need to work more on, shotgun responsibility. And yes, it's a little bit more difficult for Nick, to learn this way. You've kind of seen Kareem play pretty well this way because now remember for Kareem Hunt, this is kind of where he was in Kansas City. They were always doing this kind of stuff while he was there. Nick is a player who will adapt. Look, even last week he was 21 for 99. So obviously they found a way to make it work. Nick Chubb is a team player. He's not going anywhere. And is it going to be a little bit tougher for Nick? Yeah. Georgia still plays, 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends or 2 wide receivers and 1 tight end of the field. So he's played this way his almost entire NFL career. But the thing where Nick Chubb and why he will learn to embrace the shotgun, and as he said, Dave, is because they're going to have to fear Deshaun Watson like they have never feared any quarterback that has played with Nick Chubb at the NFL level. The fear and the respect will go towards Deshaun and what he's able to do with his arm, that they're going to have to start walking people off, and then that's where the easy opportunities will come for Nick.
Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast, and I can step aside, take another quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll flip the script. We'll take a look at some defensive numbers and some special teams numbers as well. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, partners in education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Take a look at this. Browns now 17th in defensive efficiency overall. They were 31st in mid-October. Since week 7, they're 9th. Since week 11, they're 3rd. So, Jeff Lloyd, the question I have, the defense has been better the last couple of weeks, minus the whole Jamar Chase fiasco. Is there any way that Joe Woods is back as the defensive coordinator in your mind?
I honestly don't see a way this works. And the thing that's probably most alarming is, in 2020, in 2021, Joe Woods as a defensive coordinator seemed to do more with less. This year, the things that were supposed to kind of be the bread and butter, the secondary, were things that suffered early in the year. The whole communication issues that were brought up at times, that was something that we certainly cannot have continue. And I think Todd Graham probably sank everybody's battleship last Friday when he spoke about the fact that by those two players leaving, and I'm talking about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd leaving the game, made things more difficult for the defensive side of the ball. That led to, for me, an epic rant on one of our episodes. And I just don't see a way. And I think after 3 years, I think you've seen the best of Joe Woods that you're going to see with this group, and maybe a parting between the Browns defensive players and the Browns defensive staff is probably the best avenue to go.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, this is something that's good to see. Pro Football Focus's Defensive Player of the Week. And it's John Johnson III, veteran safety, targeted twice in coverage, gave up just one catch, 7 yards, broke up the other, racked up 9 solo tackles, forced fumble, ending the week with a career best 93.1 Pro Football Focus grade. Again, that's a guy that I think is a really good football player that they're not really playing to his strengths.
I couldn't agree more. The problem is with John Johnson and Grant Delpit, what they are both best at are kind of similar. Neither one of these guys is your traditional stand on the roof type of safety where they just go back there, find the ball, and take it away. You saw John Johnson's pass breakup was against Mark Andrews. So keep in mind, you're trying to get your arm around a 6'5", 260-pound guy with extremely long arms and strong hands. He absolutely broke it up. It was a beautiful play by him. You saw the activity. And it's weird because the Browns linebackers are, as they're constructed now, of course, are not the best options as their linebackers 5, 6, 7, and 8, but they seem to always be around the ball. And, you heard Johnson say, I've been trying to get my hands in there. And it's kind of hard, when the guys are either getting you too quickly, or you're certainly chasing guys from behind, like the Browns secondary has been in a lot of instances this year. But you saw one of the most complete games you've seen from John Johnson III. And that also helps, though, when you get consistency on the outside from your corners, you get pass rush. Defense, it is such a key about everybody playing in tune and playing in harmony that when it does go right, and you saw the Browns had several players grade highly on the defensive side of the ball this week, it's because everybody's doing what is asked of them, and there's no confusion. And you don't have to make up for anybody, or you're not looking around saying, well, what's going to happen if he gets beat? Because he's gotten beat by by guys like this on this route, 3 weeks in a row. So that's in that back of your head, as opposed to you just focusing on what you need to do as your assignment each down. But John Johnson III is a really, really good football player. Is he the best open field tackler? No. Are there times where he looks really good? Yes, like he did last Saturday. John Johnson is a good player. I know a lot of people probably ready to run him out of town too in a June 1st cap cut. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Browns are going to want to continue basically the relationship here between he and Grant Delpit. Ronnie Harrison's going to be a free agent, but Ronnie Harrison had some nice big plays on Saturday, filling in for John Johnson, who left early with the thigh contusion. The Browns, I'm not saying they're set anywhere at the safety position, but they have some really, really nice pieces. And John Johnson's a good player. And I think, some fans are starting to realize that, just basically what you said is that, in order for guys to excel, they need to be asked to do what they do best.
All right, let's turn our attention to the kicker. Cade York, rookie, took him in the 4th round. So here you see field goals, 22 of 30, so 73%. That ranks 32nd, dead last. Extra points, has missed a couple, 22nd. When you look at the home splits, he's having trouble at First Energy Stadium, as most do. 9 of 15, has missed 2 field goals. See away, 13 of 15. Jeff, you tweeted this out, and it's really interesting. You know, to start their careers, he's not too dissimilar than Phil Dawson. So, again, this isn't an easy place to kick. I mean, First Energy Stadium is not an easy place. The wind is all over the place. Let's give the guy a break and let's see if he can figure it out. Now, he hasn't.
Well,
he hasn't been great. I'm going to say that.
First things first. You have a rookie kicker with 3 games to go who's already attempted 30 field goals. 30. I mean, come on. I mean, the thing, you even though you spent the draft choice on him, you're never going to say, oh, our season came down to the rookie kicker, or we're going to rely on the rookie kicker. That's asking an awful lot of the kid. And the thing which is weird about First Energy is each end is different. And you're basically in your own home stadium, but within your own home stadium, it's 2 different things. On the road, keep in mind, some of the earlier games in nicer weather down in Carolina, that's an environment he's used to. Going to Miami, that's something that you're not really going to have an issue with. It is a difficult place to, kick. There's no question. Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals Saturday in Cleveland as well. It's tough. For me, a rookie kicker, it is a tough enough job as it is. But when the fact that, the Browns were basically, a lot of these games came down to the rookie kicker, that's a bad situation to put the kid in, because it's a really, really difficult spot for success. What happened last year with the Bengals, that is not the norm by any means whatsoever. But for me, it just came to me, and I'm like, because every time it's, he should talk to Phil Dawson. Yeah, so I just went and I was like, oh my God, okay, well, how about this? And basically one more kick, he's missed one, missed one more field goal. So it's a really difficult spot for the guy to be in. He should have never been put into this spot, where they keep pointing the finger at him. For everybody who wonders maybe why the Browns are going for it a lot on 4th down. Oh, take the points, take the points. Well, they're not sure they can count on the rookie every time to just take the points. That's why they've been going for it.
Yeah, fair enough. Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast and I are going to take one more timeout. Other side of the break. A lot of the Browns talking about former teammate Jarvis Landry, who's coming back to town with the Saints. We'll hear from him. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Jarvis Landry will be coming back to town with the New Orleans Saints. Landry has been kind of banged up, hasn't played a lot since the beginning of the season, but he is still very highly thought of inside the Browns locker room.
Yeah, he had a huge impact. I mean, I feel he's one of those guys that helped kind of turn his organization around and brought a lot of wins to this organization. He's a leader on and off the field, made plays. Wish he was still here, but he's a great player, great person, just a good guy.
That's my guy. Jarvis taught me a lot. I came here as a young rookie, and he was Jarvis Landry, and just on the field, off the field, everything. He's always there for me. A great person, great player, a great leader, yeah, he was a big part of me being who I am in football.
He had a huge impact. I think he was one of the main reasons we got this thing turned around, along with obviously a few other players. But I got to give credit to him for the majority of it because, he had the mentality, the mindset of winning, of, pushing through adversity. And I feel like that rubbed on a bunch of players at the time when he was here with other players that were here that aren't here anymore. I think that rubbed off on everybody, and we were just, focused on, pushing our limits. So.
And Jeff, it's interesting. Players will always talk nice, not necessarily that nice. It was just very interesting to hear the respect that the Browns still have for what Jarvis Landry meant here.
Well, what you're seeing here is a bunch of young guys who were really in a difficult situation. They were on really, really bad teams. They were, the second they walked in the door, David Njoku was one of the most talented players in the building. Myles Garrett, same thing happened in 2018 with Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward. So it's a tough spot to be in because basically you walk in and you're basically, top at your positional group. So it's a tough spot to be in as a rookie. But a guy like Jarvis Landry, who's always been brash, he took them all under their wing, basically, was the guy who said, just go out and do your business. He taught them how to be professionals. Look, I mean, a lot of guys, they're going to be sour grapes about it. But those same guys in the back of their minds, they understand the way this business works. If I'm a running back on the Cleveland Browns, but they just drafted Nick Chubb at the top of the second round, I understand my days are limited. So what you've seen now is the maturation of a lot of guys who have grown into quality players on the field, in the locker room, like Denzel, like Nick, certainly Myles, and of course David Njoku, and a lot of credit that goes to Jarvis Landry. The thing with Jarvis Landry, I know a lot of people, it would be great if he was back, but what do you do when you pay a guy $15 million for like 3 years in a row, and then you get to the point where, how do you even, it's almost an insult to say your market right now is for $3 million a year. Those are conversations people don't want to have in the NFL. So Jarvis went out, found his deal in New Orleans, making about $3 million a year. It's a tough relationship to rekindle when so much money is being taken out of the equation. Jarvis was always a pro, always handled himself like a pro. And for a lot of these guys, when the pressure started to pick up in 2018 when they were winning games, he was the guy that kept everybody's cool. In 2020, when playoffs became a reality, Jarvis was kind of the guy to say, hey, look, I've been there, keep cool, so let's stay focused. He was a great, great part of Cleveland, and he'll always be part of taking the tarnish off of, what was considered such a bad franchise. And now we have a lot of fans who are entitled that the fact that the team might only go 8-9 or 9-8.
Yeah, without question. NFL power rankings and pleasant surprises for each team. This is from ESPN.com. So they have the Eagles 1, the Bills 2, and the Chiefs 3. The Browns check in at number 20. And the pleasant surprise, it's a good pick. Donovan Peoples-Jones, former 6th-round pick out of Michigan, one of Cleveland's most consistent performers all season, 782 yards, 57 receptions, both second most on the team behind Amari Cooper. And Jeff, you had questions. I had questions if he was going to be the number 2 receiver. He's a number 2 receiver, and he's going to be valuable with Deshaun Watson. You can already see it. He's got the size and he's got the hands, and he just knows where to be.
With Donovan, and the growth has been incredible. And again, this is what is vital here with Deshaun Watson and just playing at a much faster pace. It just makes things easier for guys. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a great contested catcher. You're seeing that they're starting to go a little bit outside of the box with him a little bit. On Saturday, lined him up in the backfield, turned into a touchdown for them. The key where you saw it was really coming together. You remember earlier in Donovan's career, they were trying to use him as a punt returner. Nothing was happening. Like, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't get any yards. Most of the time he was catching the ball flat-footed. But you saw this year with, having the success week in, week out, being able to contribute. Now, this was a guy who was a great return man in his days at Michigan. It was probably one of the things that, drew the eyes from the Browns to him. But then you get to the Houston Texan game, and now that things are going really well for him, he's comfortable. He takes the punt and takes it to the house. In all facets, Donovan Peoples-Jones has taken major, major steps this year. I'm sure there's going to be contract extension talks at the end of this year for Donovan Peoples-Jones. And even if you add a third wide receiver, a quality one, either through free agency or you can find one in the draft that totally suits what you need, he is going to be a big part of Deshaun Watson and the stories that will be written of Deshaun Watson in the upcoming years.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You would need another receiver because you're going to play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Jeff Lloyd, Locked on Browns podcast as always. Great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Dave. To you, everybody over there at the show, and of course, everybody in the Cleveland area. Happy holidays, everybody. Have a great week.
Happy holidays to you, and again, appreciate the time. Again, check him out, Jeff Lloyd, Locked on Browns podcast. We're going to turn our attention to the Cleveland Cavaliers' 3rd best record in the NBA. We will be joined by Sam Amico from hoopswire.com straight ahead. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We turn our attention to the Cavaliers riding a 4-game winning streak, and also Donovan Mitchell, the newest Cavalier, named the Eastern Conference Player of the Week for Week 9. So that was the week that starts yesterday. 32 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.8 assists for an average of the week. Let's welcome in Sam Amico, hoopswire.com. And Sam, I watch a lot of basketball. I knew Donovan Mitchell was good. I don't know if I knew he was that good.
Probably not as good as the past week anyway, you didn't think. I'll tell you what, he's really been comfortable, not just the past week, but really since day one, since he set foot on the court with the Cavs, has really just fit in seamlessly, which sometimes with stars, it doesn't always go that way. It takes a little bit of an adjustment period, but he's really given them, a team that was already pretty good, really given them a lift and kind of taken them to another level where people think because of him, along with the surrounding talent, that they have a real shot to come out of the Eastern Conference. Now, granted, there's some other good teams there, but, the Cavs are in the conversation, and Donovan Mitchell, of course, is the biggest reason why.
So Cavs have now won 4 straight. Last night, they won their 4th in a row, 102-99 over Utah. Cavs had a 29-2 edge in fast break points, shot 61% from the field, 57% from three-point range, and made 81% of their free throws. Sam, when you look at those numbers, that means the ball's moving. That means they're moving. You don't shoot that well from the field in an NBA game unless you're passing extremely well.
Yeah, Mitchell and a few of the other players said it after the game. That was a good example of what the Cavs have the potential to become when they're really clicking. And like you said, Dave, the ball was moving. They just really were cohesive. They functioned as a unit. And when that happens, obviously we've seen what they can do. Now, that's not going to happen every night. Some guys are going to be off. Some nights the ball will move and the players still won't make the shots. But, really against the Jazz, that was really the one game we saw, boy, this team really has that kind of potential that if they do that on most nights, they can really go places. And, it all starts obviously with Darius Garland and Mitchell in the backcourt, Ricky Rubio when he comes back. And that's, it's their job to keep the offense sharp and to really create not just scoring opportunities for themselves, but keep their teammates involved. And they've really done a nice job of that, probably more so over the past 2 or 3 weeks, as we've seen during this winning streak, to keep them on the up and up.
JB Bickerstaff talked about the win over Donovan Mitchell's former team, the Utah Jazz, last night.
This was about the team. I know Donovan's a hell of a player and deserves a lot of credit, but this was about our team tonight. I thought everybody went out, played with a purpose, played together, played the right way. So this was a team win tonight.
And as you have been looking for those team wins and having guys contribute, what stood out the way that they were able to do so, and what was different about that, I guess?
I think we just did what we were supposed to do for longer periods of time. I think coming out of the third quarter, we let them go on a little run. But other than that, I thought we played a pretty good game in total.
Okay. Danny Cunningham, ESPN Cleveland. Jamie, do you think this was the most complete game you guys have played all season?
I thought we played well tonight. I thought we played, we could have played better defense in the second half. But, again, we did enough to win.
And, Sam, it's good to get a game like that for a young team, because now he can say, this is kind of the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head, when he said this really was a total team effort. You look at Donovan Mitchell, while as good of a game as he had against the Jazz and was determined to do that against his former team, really it wasn't like he had a 41-point eruption and nobody else got involved. Everybody was involved. The defense did its job to, once, like JB said, once the Jazz went on that little run, they turned it up defensively. The Cavs did in the third quarter to kind of keep them at bay and keep the game from getting too close. So, he wouldn't agree or wouldn't come out and say that was their best total team effort of the year, but very clearly it was. I mean, this was just a game where everything was clicking on all cylinders and everybody contributed in their own way, where you really didn't see too many flaws, and obviously, again, that's not going to happen most nights, but it shows you if it can happen throughout the majority of most games, then, you're really onto something here. And you know what? Maybe it's the sign, Dave. Okay, this team is finally getting comfortable together, is finally getting used to playing with Donovan Mitchell. And now they're going to start hitting their stride, which is really the perfect time right around Christmas to be able to hit your stride and kind of surge into the second half of the season.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. So take a look at this, too. Cavs now have the best net rating in the NBA, plus 6.5. Sam is a guy that covers the entire – what does it mean? If a net rating like that for an average fan, what is that? What should they take away from that?
Well, it just means they're, in simple terms, they're just playing with great efficiency. We talk a lot about, at least I have on here, talked a lot about the turnovers and how they need to cut down. It means that they probably still could do that, but they're overcoming that with other ways, whether it be, you factor in the scoring output, the shooting percentages, things like block shots and steals on defense. You factor all that, assists, and you compare that to the negatives, well, they're very, 6.5 plus net rating basically means they are overcoming any of their ills by producing in the most important areas. So that's a very good sign. The other good sign is, with the exception of a couple of guys here and there, Lamar Stevens, Dylan Windler, waiting on Ricky Rubio, they've been relatively healthy, and that helps you in terms of your cohesion. And put it this way, simplest terms, teams with crummy net ratings, they don't win very much. So a team with a very positive net rating and leading in the league means you're a team that's won a lot of games.
So net rating good, bad net rating bad. Okay, I got that.
That's it.
So Donovan Mitchell talked about what he's trying to do relative to the team.
I would say honestly, as a leader vocally, I think I've grown in a sense in that way. I think just continuing to set that tone. I think I talk more in timeouts than I ever have in my career, and that in itself is not only helping the team, but helping me stay engaged and stay locked in on the task at hand, understanding that we got up 20 today, and I was still like, no, it's not good enough. We need more. Like, there was a loose ball that Walker Kessler had got, I think, and Evan jumped, or I think it was Vanderbilt. Evan jumped instead of hitting first to get to a box out, and I had that conversation with Ev, like, hey, we need to get a hit first. Like, keeping my mind in that space at all times, I think has helped me grow, but also helped this team, and also vice versa. There was a screen that I didn't get down to the side, and I heard about it from Coach Buck. Like, all right, cool. Like, continuously trying to set that tone. Like I said, offensively I do what I do, but defensively trying to take that step and continuously be able to hold myself accountable. That way I can hold others accountable.
And Sam, the more I hear him talk, the more the more you hear from him, the more you like him.
Yeah, that's true leadership right there. Not just a guy who's telling Evan Mobley, hey, move over and box out, but also a guy who's accepting, I don't want to say criticism, but instruction from his coach and going out and making it right as opposed to being upset about it. So, like you said, Dave, that makes you like him even more, which is tough to do because he's really become a fan favorite just through his personality right away. One of my favorite things he said last night was how he's getting more comfortable in Cleveland, and a lot of that has to do with he's finally figuring out the roads and the interstate, and the driving has made his life a little bit easier, but he still has an adjustment there. But on the court, seems like the adjustment has been made.
That's a perfect tease. We'll hear more from Donovan Mitchell. Sam Amico from Sports4CLE and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. More from Donovan Mitchell and what lies ahead for the Cavs. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Cavs with Sam Amico from hoopswire.com. Well, Donovan Mitchell is under contract for 2 more years, and he has a player's option as well. Sam mentioned he talked about his getting more comfortable and really liking Cleveland. Here is Donovan Mitchell from last night.
I'm comfortable, if that's what you're saying. I know, obviously, I'm still trying to figure out the highways, but for me, with this group, it feels like I've been apart for a while, and there's, like I said, the city, the fans, the team, everybody's welcomed me with open arms, and the fit was pretty seamless, and like I've always said, we didn't know what the fit was going to be like, but it's been pretty fluid. And, my biggest thing is just trying to be myself, not be anything extra, not trying to overdo it, not trying to overcompensate. And, my teammates have really allowed me to be that, my coaching staff as well. And I think that's what's making it, seem so easy and free-flowing. Even through, we have tough nights, 5-game losing streaks or whatnot, and there's going to be some more tough nights that come up. You still, find ways to continue to grow and continue to get better.
Sam, the thing to keep in mind is they're young, and each is going to get better individually. It truly is something that's kind of interesting to see. Hopefully they can keep this together for quite a while, because they're on the beginning edge of something that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that the first thing is Donovan Mitchell talks about being comfortable and how things are free flowing, but I think we really see his character and what great character he has as a player and an athlete and a person is when they do lose and they do have hard times, he's always stays upbeat and encourages his teammates. And I think that's really positive on a young group. You need a positive leadership, and he really provides that for guys like Darius Garland and Jared Allen, who were all stars themselves last season. Evan Mobley, runner-up to Rookie of the Year last season. Mitchell's influence on them and his positive approach is a great thing for them to have around them, just like Ricky Rubio was last season. So it's more than just his production on the court. It's the impact he's made in the locker room. But yeah, keeping this core together. When you talk about the main core, you're talking about the guys I just mentioned, Mobley, Allen, and Mitchell and Garland, obviously, are the four big ones. And those are the guys that, if you can build around them and sustain them, and as well as some of your other pieces that you have here now, and hold on to them for the next 4 or 5 years, who knows what the future, what the limits could be, because right now it looks, to steal the word of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, it's a very rosy future if you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, they're young, they're all ascending, and they're figuring each other out. This one, I'm just going to go to this one because I got nothing for it. It's the Bleacher Report, every contender's most troubling flaw. And for the Cavs, they say Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland's on-court chemistry. And if that's the biggest problem that you have, how to have two all-star type guys figure out how to play with each other when they're willing to, I don't see that as a flaw because both of them want to win. It's not like the situation in Brooklyn and that mess. They'll figure it out. And by the way, the Nets are figuring it out as well, but these two will figure it out at a high level.
Yeah, I guess they had to come up with something for a flaw. But, for me, those two guys have fit pretty much seamlessly. There's been no issue in terms of, who takes the final shot, which really is whichever guy is open and has a good look at the basket or can create a good look at the basket. There's no kind of, uneven awkwardness involving the two, quite the opposite. If you want to talk about, stars who don't fit, you look at Russell Westbrook in Los Angeles or something along those lines. But these two guys have worked very well together. Really, the Cavs, to me, the one thing the move that they could make would be finding a wing who's a reliable knockdown three-point shooter. If they could do that, they certainly would be in finals contention, I would think, as soon as this season.
So currently they have the third best record, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA. Tomorrow they're getting ready for a game with the Bucks. Best record in the NBA as far, and the Eastern Conference as well. How big of a game is it? And I mean, you don't want to make too much out of it in a game that's, happening in early December, but it's a measuring stick game, don't you think?
You just explained it perfectly. You don't want to make a big deal about it, but you also want to realize, the Bucks and the Celtics are probably the two teams to beat in the Eastern Conference above you right now. Maybe the Nets will fall into that equation. Those are all your big games, right? You haven't played well against Milwaukee so far if you're the Cavs. Both of those games were in Milwaukee. The next two, they have two more against the Bucks beginning tomorrow night. Both are in Cleveland. You want to take care of business on your home court against teams that consider you a threat. And the Bucks certainly consider the Cavs a threat. So, you don't want to just blow it off as just another game, which I assure you neither team is doing. But you also don't want to make too big of a deal of the outcome. Like you said, it's December, it's before Christmas. We're not at the midway point yet. A lot of things can happen. At the same time, you're the Cavs. You have a season-long 6-game homestand. You're 3-0. You're 15-2 at home. You want to show these Eastern Conference contenders, such as Milwaukee, which is 2 years removed from a championship, basically same cast, if not a little better than that team. You want to show them, you know what, we belong in this conversation. You don't want to just show it to the Bucks. You want to show it to yourselves. And anytime you have an opportunity to do that, you want to make the most of it.
Before I let you go, you know the Bucks are going to be ready too. The Bucks are going to try to show them, you're not quite there yet, young team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that will be the mission of the Bucks, is to come in and win on the Cavs home court and say, look, we're up 3-0 in the season series. It's us or Boston or maybe Brooklyn. And, you guys are not ready for prime time quite yet. And that's the message that the Bucks would be sending, much like the Cavs when they used to have LeBron James and would go into other Eastern Conference contenders' homes and beat them, like, beating the Raptors and all those teams. But you know what? If the Cavs can win this game, again, then not only are other teams taking them very seriously, which I think they're taking it pretty seriously now, but then the Cavs will say, you know what? We have shown that we can hang with the so-called, best of the best in the East. And it's a great opportunity for them to overtake a team that really is, the Bucks have really kind of found their stride as well. So it should be a fun one.
Sam Amico from hoopswire.com, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Great stuff. Thanks, Sam.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dave. We will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Sam Amico, hoopswire.com. Make sure you check him out. All things Cavs, as well as all things NBA. Really good stuff if you are an NBA fan. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.